Brilliance Audio presents The Names of the Dead by Kevin Wignall, performed by Michael Braun.
Garrett and Nora hadn't arrived until just after midnight, exhausted by a day of travel delays, so the next morning they were eager to get out immediately after a late breakfast and see Granada. It was the second stop on their tour of Spain and Portugal, and this 2-week vacation was their first overseas trip since spring break the previous year, so they were determined to soak up every minute of it. The hotel was tucked away in the Albaicin, but a little distance from the busiest tourist streets. So as they climbed the stepped paths between white-walled houses, the morning stillness remained undisturbed by the few other visitors they encountered. They had in mind to walk up to the Mirador de San Nicolás for the view over the Alhambra, but before they were even close, they chanced upon a peaceful little square with a couple of cafes, a handful of people sitting at the tables of the one nearest them. It had the air about it of a refuge from the day ahead, from the heat that was already building in the pristine blue sky, from the hordes that would descend on the city over the next hour or so. They didn't even need to discuss it. Nora looked at the cafe, glanced at Garrett, he nodded, and they took a table. There was an elderly English couple next to them, chatting quietly, a woman with a small boy sitting in comfortable silence, a young man with a bomb in the backpack that lay at his feet, a woman writing a postcard. A waiter strolled out and they offered a hola before lapsing back into English and ordering iced coffees. Once he'd gone inside, Nora said, "This is so beautiful." Her voice hushed to match the surroundings. The English couple had fallen into silence. Behind them, the little boy sucked at the straw in his drink and produced a slurping noise that made both him and his mother giggle. A fair-haired family came into the square, a couple with a boy and a girl of about 9 or 10, and stopped in exactly the same place where the cafe had managed to snag Garrett and Nora. They seemed to be engaged in an inaudible discussion about whether or not to stay for a drink. Garrett looked across at them, but turned back to Nora when she said, "I could eat an olive right now. Is it too early for olives?" He loved that she asked questions like that. Not unless they're in a martini. She laughed, never dreaming those were the last words she would ever hear him say. "Yeah, I think I'll have some olives." Her words tumbled gently into the silence. The family continued its mute deliberation, the children patiently awaiting the decision. All was stillness around them, not even any noise from the cafe. Some olives. She would have some olives. They had no real awareness of the explosion. A flash, almost lost against this overexposed morning. The instantly deafening bang, the pummeling of the air. The sense of everything hurtling in and flying away at the same time, of being crushed even as the world broke apart and scattered. Garrett's physique, enhanced by 2 years of college football, didn't protect him, but it did protect Nora, shielding her from some of the blast. The old English lady survived for 2 days, the deliberating father for a week. The others were killed instantly, all hit with such flesh-rending force that it would be 3 days before the final death toll was firmly established. Nora would lose her left leg just above the knee, and suffer burns and other disfiguring injuries to her head, face, and right arm. For a week she would be kept in an induced coma, and it would be 2 more weeks before she was told that Garrett had died in the attack, though by that time she'd know it anyway. And it would be 2 years before Nora O'Brien started to live some sort of life again. 2 years before she slowly began to accept her good fortune, that of the 8 people in the cafe and the 4 standing nearby on that fine early summer morning in Andalusia, she alone had survived.